Hey guys, welcome to my first attempt at a blog. I'm going to do the sample with this BMW 7 Series. It's a 750 hybrid. It's got the 4-litre twin turbo. Seaplane just coming in. So back to the car. 2012 at the time, it was the fastest hybrid in the world actually. So let's drive it. So just to explain to you what I'm doing, I'm going to start doing some blogs. I've got a lot of stuff going on in the UK. I've got a Ferrari 488, an R8 GT which I'm supercharging, a modified wide body Mercedes SL 600 with the V12 in it, and I'm going to be doing some blogs. I'm doing a lot of events including track days at Spa, Nürburgring, Goodwood, and then I'm doing a time attack at Brands Hatch, which should be fun. So I'm going to record all of this stuff, and hopefully some people will be interested to watch it. Partly I'm doing it just so that I can keep a video blog for my own records, and also I've got children who might be interested at some point to see what I do with my life. So here we go guys, 7 Series. As I said before, BMW did this in 2012. At the time it was the fastest hybrid in the world. I think they just did it as a testing process really for the hybrid power. They didn't really succeed as far as the improved fuel economy. It only does, I think, 20 average miles per gallon, and less than that during normal driving. So it was really just used more like a KERS system, like in Formula 1, to fill in the power of the twin turbo and be able to move a 5,000 pound 7 Series with a lot more torque. So at the moment we're in regular drive, very comfortable 7 Series BMW. Everything's set to soft and normal automatic driving mode. It does have a real change when you switch between the settings. It's quite dramatic on this car. I've had a lot of sports cars before and you have a comfort and sport mode, but realistically the sports cars are always relatively uncomfortable. So this is obviously a complete comfortable luxury saloon, and has a sport mode which, okay, is not to the same standards as a sports car, but it does change the driving characteristics quite considerably. I'm going to switch it into sport mode. So I've got just switched from comfort to normal to sport, and we'll go into sport plus, which turns the basic traction control off, although it never completely turns off with a vehicle like this. Put it into sport gearbox and go into manual. On this manual setting you have the up and down on the center, which most automatics have that ability. The nice thing that BMW did was it's set up like a rocker box where you forwards for downshift and backwards for upshift, which means when you're driving quickly it's more natural. When you're under braking and momentum's going forwards, you're downshifting, and the same when you're accelerating. Put it down into third gear and I'll show you this torque of the battery power does. So it's the 4-litre twin turbo in this, the same as the previous gen M3. So it's pretty rapid, and then the electric motor adds, I think it's around 60 horsepower. So you get up close to 500 horsepower in this, and at the time in 2012 it was 0 to 60 in just over 4 seconds, which is quite quick for a car like this. Regenerative braking there, you can hear that whining noise. It almost sounds like a supercharger noise. So topping the batteries back up as we go. You really have to get slowed down, but once you slowed down and you get the turn in, then you can just get that little grip and accelerate, get the back to come around. Baha Mar in front of us, which is a resort in the Bahamas that has been now put on hold for about, I think, a year or so. Since it's stopped construction. So a bit more history of, I guess, from me. I've had my race license now for about 10 years. Did a bit of racing in Caterhams. I can give a reasonably good view on the sports cars and how they handle. What I will do is talk a bit about, not during this vlog, but later on, I'll talk a bit about handling characteristics, and then understeer, oversteer, and ways to control that, and ways to get the best out of different types of cars. One thing that I found interesting recently, a couple of months ago, I took out a Ferrari 430 with a manual gearbox. Now, I had a 430. I had the F1 gearbox, and with the manual gearbox I was amazed how difficult it was to keep up, because on the road you are obviously having to deal with a lot of different things going on, whether it be other cars, uneven road surfaces, pedestrians, a lot of varied corners, junctions, and on a racetrack you don't have to deal with that stuff. So a manual gearbox, you know, it works fine. You get into a rhythm on the racetrack, and the manual, you get that added control from the manual gearbox that you don't get from a automatic, and which is the reason why a lot of people go on about manual gearboxes, and I agree with that to a certain extent. But if you're trying to push on, then a manual gearbox becomes really difficult to keep up with. So I feel like anything over 500 horsepower, you really need to go to a paddle shift box. And what you'll notice when I do some of my other blogging or vlogging will be that the gearboxes have obviously changed quite a bit over the last 5 years, gone from the single clutch to a double clutch, and that'll be something that you'll see the difference from the R8 GT, which had the R-tronic, which a lot of people didn't like because it's quite clunky, and it's actually very similar to the E46 SMG2 gearbox, but I quite like it. It gives you a kick in the back, and it has a real kind of almost more like a manual gearbox feel to it when you're changing gears, where the double clutch now is so smooth that you really don't feel the transition from one gear to another hardly, and you know, that for me, I think you actually lose a little bit of the experience.